Sewing a dart is really easy. I'm going to show you exactly how in this super quick tutorial. In this video, I'm going to show you how to sew darts really easily. I'm going to show you two different darts. So this dart is like what you would have at the top of a skirt or a pair of trousers, or maybe on the side seam of a bodice. And then this dart is like what you would get on a dress. So this would be towards the bust point, this would be the waist, and this would be going down onto the hip. So I'm going to show you how to do both of these really easily. The first thing we need to do is mark where our darts are. So what I do is I just put a pin through the pattern and out the other side. If you're cutting both sides of your garment, you might have your fabric doubled over, so you just need to go through both layers of the fabric. So the first thing is just to put the pins through on each of the points and then flip it over. And you might have to do this, like I'm saying, if you do it on the double, you'll have to do it with 2 layers of fabric. But hopefully you can see this, is where your pin comes up, just push another pin through and then pull it out through here. And then when you take your paper pattern off, you will end up with a pin marking where it is. And what I forgot to do was just to do little snips at this end to mark where the top of your dart is. Ideally do that before you take the pins out, which I forgot to do. So your dart has now been marked with little snips at the top and a pin marking the bottom of it. So I'm going to do the same with this one, just 4 points to mark. So now that we've got all of our pins in place and our snips at the top, we just need to pin where our darts are going to be stitched. So what we need to do is line up where the snips are on the top of this one and then just fold it flat to the point of where that pin is. I then like to put a pin going across the dart, and then this pin at the end, I just pull it out so that one end is still in, and then I just pin that one in across. And then what we need to do is sew the straight line down. So what you can do is use a ruler to just put a few pins in along that line, just pin it right next to the ruler, and then you know that what you've pinned is a perfectly straight line. And then when you come to sew it, you just follow the pin guide, and then I'll show you how to finish off the end. So I'm going to do exactly the same with this one. The only difference with this one being that we have a start and finish point rather than an end. So I just put this pin into the fabric, and then it needs to come back out where the opposite pin is, and then we can remove that pin. It's kind of hard to show, but when you do it, it's pretty easy. So then just lay it flat and then do the same as what you did on the other dart. You just need to keep one end of the pin still in the fabric and then fold that nice and flat, and then put these pins in across the fabric, and then just do exactly the same using the ruler. Once you get the hang of it, you won't even need to use a ruler, but if it's the first time you've done a dart, it just helps you to keep a straight line. The more you do, the more you'll just get used to sewing the straight line by eye, but definitely a good place to start. So we just need to pin both directions. So now we're ready to sew both of our darts. So I'm going to start with the dart that is like what you'd have at the top of a skirt or something going onto a waistband. And I'm just going to basically follow the pins as my guide, because I know that's exactly where the pattern indicated the dart needs to go. So I'm going to sew down. Obviously I'd use the right colour thread if this was a real garment. You just want to sew all the way down to this pin, but don't go over it. And then when you get to the pin, you need to go up to it, still staying in a straight line. You might want to hand wind the machine at this point so you don't sew too quickly, and then take that pin out, and then you just need to kind of smooth it off. And I like to go backwards and forwards a couple of times to secure it. Some people prefer to tie the threads in a knot. But I always find I've always thought that's a better way to do it. That's how I was taught. So there you go, you have a nice straight line, and then it curves off very slightly at the bottom. You only want to do it very, very slightly, and then I'm going to go and give that an iron and show you how it looks. And there you go, a perfectly smooth dart without a point at the end. If you were to finish it too abruptly at the end, you'd end up with a bit of a point there, and nobody wants a point at the end of their dart. Now I'm going to show you the other dart, which is a little bit more fiddly to do, but not really. So where you have your pin going across at the top, you just need to line your needle up with that and just lower the needle into the fabric. And that's your starting point. I always like to start with a couple of stitches backwards and forwards. And then you just need to follow your pins. And then this is your one that's at the waist point. So I just turn it to the side while I'm going to this point, and then go right up to it. And you just want to not make that too pointy, just smooth it off just slightly. And then we just finish it off exactly the same as we did the previous one. I've done quite a wide dart just so I can demonstrate it a bit better. So if this was in an actual garment, what you might want to do just to let it lay really flat is just to do a little snip in the middle. But if it's only a narrow dart, you don't necessarily need to do that. So I'm just going to go and iron this one. And there you have it. A dart like what you would expect on a dress. There's your waist, your bust and your hip. And you can see how nice and smooth it is.